Okay, welcome back. We're on chapter 3, page 2 of our notes. So either you already have them, or if you do not have them and you need to print them on the class website, you can locate them on chapter 3 notes. Go down to the bottom, click on this page, open it, print it. So let's do a quick review. Okay, so we're on page 2, but we're going to talk about page 1 for just a second. This is what we finished with, using this transaction to put it on a journal. And we learned that T accounts, which we learned last chapter, help us understand how to put the transaction on the journal. So for the example here, paid cash for prepaid insurance, $500. The date goes here on the left-hand side. And then we knew that the two accounts we were using are prepaid insurance and cash. So we had prepaid insurance here, and we knew it was increasing, which meant the 500 goes on the left-hand side. Now this is a general amount column, okay, which means that you have to write this one on here. It's not already on the journal. So we take our prepaid insurance, and we put it in the account area right here. Now we come over here to general, and because it's a debit on prepaid insurance, it goes in general debit. Now the second account we were using was cash, and we knew that cash was decreasing, which meant that it went in the credit side, the right side of the T account. Now this is a special amount column. Sales and cash are considered special amount columns because they're always on the journal. We use them so much. So since cash is already up here, we do not have to write anything in our account title for this one. We just come over here to cash. It's a credit, so we put it in the 500 in our credit side of our cash. All right, that's our review for the last page. Now let's try another example. So we're on page 2. If you look at your notes, there's a spot in your notes for you to write this transaction. It's at the top of page 2. So make sure you write this down and have it in your notes so you know what we're talking about when you go back and review your notes to help you. If you need to pause the video again, do so, write it down. Alright, so we have our T accounts here again. Okay, we're going to do the T accounts first because these are used to help us out. So paid cash for supplies, $500. We have to figure out which two T accounts this goes in. Okay, so for this example, if you remember, this is very similar to our last transaction. Paid cash for supplies. The two accounts that should be used are, one would be cash right here. Okay, one would be cash. You find it right there. It's in there. It's in the sentence. And the second is going to be supplies. Okay, so we're going to put cash and supplies on our T accounts here. It doesn't matter if one's on the left or one's on the right. That doesn't make a difference. So we've labeled our T account, so hopefully you've done that in your notes. Now we have to figure out this 500 right here. This 500, it is going to go on the T account. So we have to figure out which side, debit or credit, of each account. All right, so let's take a look. Say this is cash over here on the left. Let's pretend we're using cash on this side. And we have our $500, and we have to figure out if it's debit or credit. Now if you remember correctly, once again, the normal balance side, or the side that increases on cash, is your debit side. Well, on the transaction, we're spending money, which means we have less cash. So our 500 will go on the right side, because that's the side that decreases for cash. It'll go on the credit side. Okay. Now supplies are over here. It's the other one we're going to be using. Now once again, if you know this is credit over here for sure, then the other one has to be debit if you're 100% sure of the first one. However, let's talk about it for a second. So on this T account right here, we have supplies. Now we bought supplies, which means they are increasing. If you remember correctly, supplies are an asset, and they're on the left-hand side of the accounting equation, which means that the normal balance side, or the side that increases, would be the debit side. Okay? So because we are getting more supplies and debit is the normal balance side, the side that increases, the 500 goes on the left-hand side of the T account. Alright, so let's take a look. Here's your answer right here. Here's what you should have. Okay? So paid cash for supplies, $500. Supplies, 500 debit. Cash, 500 credit. Make sure you have this in your notes. Make sure you have the transaction and the T accounts. There's a spot in your notes for you to write all this down. Alright, now let's take a look. We have to take this information and we have to put it on a journal. Okay, so I have the transaction and the T accounts as well. So just like before, first thing you're going to do is put the date on here. So the date, May 5th, right here. That's the easy part. Now once again, you have cash already, and if you remember correctly, cash is already up here. It is a special amount column. It's always up here. So you don't have to write anything in the account title for cash, because it's already here. Okay, here's your T account. It looks just like the T account, cash, debit on the left, credit on the right. So you can go ahead and, if you'd like, take your 500 and put it, it's a credit down here, so it'll be a credit right here as well. Okay. Now supplies, however, it's not already up here, so the ones that are not on the journal already have to be written in the account title. So you're going to take supplies right here, and you're going to write it in this account title you find here. Okay. Now we have to take this 500 and we have to put it in the general amount columns. Okay. Now we have a general debit and a general credit. Now based on our T accounts, we learned that 500 goes on the left side or the debit side of supplies, which means in the general area, 500 will go here. All right. And this is what it should look like. Okay. Let's take a look. This is what it should look like. Once a transaction is complete, that's how it should look. The money always goes in two spots. So general debit 500, cash credit 500. All right, make sure you have that in your notes. All right, now let's take a look. It's your turn now. Okay, so you're going to do a transaction. Here's the first transaction you're going to do. We're going to do two of these. Okay, we're going to do two of these. So you're going to write down this transaction right here. Make sure you write it down. There's a spot in your notes, okay, right where it says your turn number 1. There's some lines there. You need to write that down. Now right under that, there's going to be a journal. Okay, if you want to use T accounts to help you figure it out, you can. But you're going to take this transaction and you're going to try to put it on the journal that you see right here. Okay, on the journal that you see right here. Okay, now here's what I want you to do. Okay, there's 2 lines for the journal. We're going to use this bottom line for the answer, and we're going to use this top line, and you're going to write A, B, C, D, E, F, and G on those on the journal as well in those spots for me. Okay, now I'm not going to explain this one for you. Okay, not immediately. I want you to try to do it on your own. See if you can put it in there. Okay, once again, you're going to write it on the second line, this line here. And you're going to write A, B, C, D, E, F, G across, and you'll find out later why you do this, okay? You're going to find out later why you did this. Write those, please, and then try to complete the journal. I'll give you a second or two to do that. All right, let's take a look. Okay, let's take a look. So July 1st goes over here on the left. Okay, July 1st. Okay, McBroom Invest in Company. So if you were using a chart of accounts, you would know that that goes in McBroom Capital. Okay, so McBroom Capital would go here. Okay, then you take your 10,000. So first of all, McBroom Capital is down here at the bottom. McBroom Capital under one T account, and then cash under the other T account. Okay, and you need to figure out where your 500 goes in each T account, and then you would put it on the journal. So under cash, if you're getting $10,000, the normal balance side of cash is debit, which means that it would go on the debit area of the cash debit of the amount columns. Okay, which means that you have to write McBroom Capital in the account title here and use the general area, the general debit and credit. Okay, so you would take your 10,000, put it in cash debit, and if it's debit over here, you know it's got to be general credit on the other side. Okay, general credit on the other side. So this is what it should look like. Okay, so make sure you write that down. Make sure you have your A, B, C, D, E, F, G on here as well, top line, and then the answer as well. Okay, that's how McBroom Capital is going to work. Just so you know, a little tip, anytime cash decreases, it's always cash credit. Anytime it increases, it's always cash debit. Okay, if you need to pause it, but make sure you have that in your notes. All right, let's do another one here. Okay, let's do another one. On your notes as well, it says your turn number 2. there is a spot for you to write down the transaction. I expect you to do that, okay? The transaction should be written in your notes. Okay, the transaction should be written in your notes right there. And here's some T accounts. I put some T accounts if that helps you as well, but they're not in your notes, but you can write them at the top or something if you need them to help you. Now, just like before, I want you to write A, B, C, D, E, F, G across the top of that journal down there at the bottom of the page. Okay, we're going to use that later. You need it on there. We're going to use this bottom line, okay, to figure out the transaction. We're going to put the transaction, we're going to record it on the journal there. So your transaction, receive cash from sales. Okay, receive cash from sales, $10,000. Now this one's going to be a little bit different. Okay, this one's a little bit trickier. You haven't seen it unless you've seen it in your packets. Okay, so let's look at what the answer looks like. I'm going to just show you and then we'll talk about it. Okay. The only thing that's different here, so you have your date, which is easy, 12/21 here. The thing that's different is anytime you use sales, you put a check mark right here. You do not write the word, you put a check mark right there. Now where the cash goes, okay, the $1,000 should be easy because you have this sales credit on here and there's only one column. So if you make a sale, you should know that it goes in sales credit. So and like I said before, anytime cash increases, it's on the debit side. Cash decreases, it's on the other side. So maybe you used your T accounts to help you figure it out. But the answer for this one is going to be sales credit here, 1,000. Cash debit here, 1,000. And then you have a check mark in the account total, the account title, which represents sales. All right, this should be the end of page 2. So now you need to use the notes from page 1 and page 2 to complete the little quiz on these 2 pages of notes. Okay, make sure you do that. It will be for a grade. If you have any questions, let me know. After you've done that little quiz, you're going to move on to page 3.